Hi, I'm Ken from Parlee Cycles. Let's take a trip out to Parlee Cycles and see how they produce their carbon bikes.
Hey, I'm Tom Rohde, the National Sales Manager for Parlee Cycles. We're in our shop in Peabody, Massachusetts. This is where we produce all of our custom bikes. This is where we have all our offices, our warehouse for our stock bikes. We have our paint shop. When dealers and customers come here on a tour, I normally start them right here. This is a chest freezer. This is where we keep our raw material. And most people, this is the first time they've seen raw carbon fiber in the flesh. It's kept in the freezer because it's pre-impregnated, hence the name pre-preg, with epoxy resin. Normally, the carbon itself has to be cured off at 250 degrees Fahrenheit for 1 hour. And that's how you actually form a part. The raw materials are dated, so we keep the batches fresh. What is carbon really like in the flesh? And basically, it's a fabric, and as I said before, it's been pre-impregnated with epoxy, so it develops a little bit of tack. And as this comes out of the freezer and up to room temperature, the tack develops a little bit more. This is unidirectional carbon, and this is really the most important piece of raw material to see, because this is at the heart of what we do here at Parlee Cycles, is use unidirectional carbon fiber. You're starting to see the acceptance in the marketplace of unidirectional as the outer surface finish on the product, which is what we started with almost a decade ago. So I'll take you guys down this way in the shop and show you our tube sets. We have 5 complete different tube sets that we use. They're manufactured for us by Edge Composites out in Ogden, Utah. Myself or Bob, for each customer, as we design a custom bike, will hand select as part of the CAD process which tube goes which place for each rider. And so from 5 complete tube sets to choose from, we're able to ride tune the bike from, a 100-pound athlete to over 300-pound. When you look at an off-the-shelf or a stock bike, that layup is done the same way every time. The tube essentially would be the same every time. And so we're able to, dial that in for the person, but also change the characteristics within the frame for certain athletes. If someone's a sprinter, we're able to make that bike stiffer in certain areas. Classic saying, you can't judge things by the cover. These 2 tubes, this is the tube that's used for a 100-pound rider, and this is the tube that's used for a 300-pound rider. And if you look at the wall thickness, you would say, man, those tubes are going to be the same. They're going to perform the same. Well, they're totally different in terms of the way the plies are laid in and the actual fiber composition of these tubes. People read in magazine reviews where people say, oh, the bottom bracket is beefy, or it's oversized. Well, that doesn't really mean very much. It's really what you've done with the layup and with the fiber choice and composition, how many layers and how those fibers are oriented. So that really defines what makes a Parlee a Parlee. Now, the tubes are mitered, and they're cut on tooling and fixtures very similar to what a titanium or a steel builder or an aluminum builder would use. The only difference is we use diamond-tipped cutting tools, and we do a dry process. And you can see the mitering is as perfect and as tight of a gap, where you go tube to tube, as you would get from any other process. Unlike with a titanium bike or a steel bike or an aluminum bike, you only get one chance of getting the alignment right. There's no cold setting of a carbon bike. The bike has to be right the first time. These are our 6/4 titanium dropouts we use. They are milled, unlike a lot of other dropouts in the industry. These are milled from a solid block of titanium, including the plug insert. This is actually our build area. This is where we build all our Z1s, Z2s, Z3s, track bikes, and cross bikes. This is the actual tube set right here to my right that will go into that. And so it's begun to have been wrapped at the end with pre-preg. This begins to form the core of the bonded joint, the created joint that we build. And so on our bikes, even though we describe them many times as lugs, they're not truly lugs. They are not plugged together in sockets the way you would join a couple pieces of PVC plumbing. We actually build the joints when we build the bike. So it's a very different philosophy to a lot of other types of construction. We use a process that's called captured rubber tooling. What that means is we use a flexible mold to compress and mold our joints. We don't use a hard mold. And so what that allows us to do is change the angle at which the tubes can enter and make an intersection. So we can change the angles of the bike. And it also allows us, because the silicone inside the mold is soft, we can change the amount of material inside the mold, so we can also tune the stiffness of the whole bike, and not just by changing the tubes, but also by changing the composition of the lugs. So we get structurally an incredible joint. We're able to change the angle so we can build custom bikes, and we get an excellent finished product and a very good looking product. I'll take you guys over here to the finishing area. All the finishing work is done by hand. We've taken the attitude that the off-the-shelf parts that are available from frame building companies and catalogs are not good enough for the type of bikes we want to build. And we don't use any off-the-shelf cable stops, dropouts, water bottle bosses on our custom bikes. So we mold all these parts here in our shop. And in my hands here, this is our down tube cable stop. This part alone is probably $40 to $50 in materials and labor right in my hand. That's only one. And so we have a pair of these on the bike. Our water bottles are similar on the custom bike. We're not trying to drill any holes in the structure. And the idea is the less times you pierce the structure with a drill bit or mold holes into the bike, the better fiber utilization, the more efficient the structure is, and the more structurally sound it is. Next thing what I'm gonna do is have you guys follow me to our paint area. A lot of time goes into just getting the bikes ready to paint. We have a single bag. We have a lot of demand for custom paint. So most bikes come in here and it's about a 1 to 2 week process to get through the paint area. Even when the bike is done, it's not truly done. It still needs to be wet sanded and buffed. And so, you know, a lot of people think, oh, you just spray paint it, let it dry, and it's ready to ship. Well, there's actually about a week beyond that, most times, of wet sanding and buffing. This bike will come here and it's gonna spend the good part of a day. The type of finish grade we get on this is equivalent to the finest automotive finishing. It's a similar type of paint, it's a similar type of sanding process, and it's a similar type of buffing process. So once the bike goes through here, it goes through a final QC, which is, you know, we're just gonna sanity check, make sure that the seat post fits in, the wheel fits in, it gets a visual once over, make sure we didn't miss anything, there's not a little fingerprint or something on it. And then at that point, the bikes are wrapped very carefully and packed, and we have a special box we even use for shipping our bikes. So anyway, I just want to thank you guys for coming and taking a look at our processes and our products, and you know, taking the time to understand how we do things a little bit different than what's commonplace in the business. And when you're in Chicago, obviously, let's go to Get a Grip and get fitted by their guys and see the full Parlee range in the flesh. Thank you.